All right, guys, we are back at the FN booth for 2022 SHOT Show, and we are with Chris Johnson, and we're going to go over one of the new products they have for this year, the FN High Power. Go ahead and take it away, Chris.
Yeah, sure thing. So thanks for having me on. This is the new FN High Power. This is not like the old High Power at all. It's completely redesigned for today's handgunner. So we spent a lot of time making sure that we pay respect to the older design. We certainly don't want to, anger, John Browning, have him turn over in his grave or anything, but want to make sure that we respect the old design, but obviously make it for today's handgunner. So one of the things that I'm most excited about this is that we spent a ton of time, working on the ergonomics, making it, really kind of just meld and fit into your hand. The beaver tail's been redesigned, the hammer's been redesigned to basically eliminate that nasty hammer bite that old Browning High Powers were known for. One of the great things that I'm actually really excited about too is that it comes with a 17-round magazine right from the factory. The old High Power was a 13-round magazine, and in the 1920s and 30s, that was revolutionary at the time to have 13 rounds of capacity in a semi-auto pistol. But for today's shooter, 17 rounds is where it's at. So overall package weighs about 40 ounces. Done a lot of updates to the controls and things like that. Ambidextrous slide stop, ambidextrous safety, reversible magazine catch. It's a great package, really soft shooter, and just a really good time.
Well, he did such a good overview on this that I barely have any questions to ask you additionally.
Sure.
But, I mean, since we are there, here's one thing that stood out to me, a few things, is that this is fully ambidextrous. So, I mean, that was something that kind of blew me away when I saw it, because I kind of like high power, but since getting hurt and not being able to use my right arm, I'm stuck running everything lefty, and I typically run, if I run a 1911 or I run a 2011, I always have to do an ambi safety, but I'm still running the slide release and the mag release with my, index finger. And the fact that I can just switch all that over on this was pretty clever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to think, if you ever get into a scenario where your strong hand gets injured or something like that, or hurt, you can easily manipulate the gun and use it as you need to, right hand or left handed. So that's kind of like what we've been known for, FN, ambidextrous operation and things like that. So we're actually really proud to bring that over into the new High Power.
Awesome.
For those of you that are familiar with the old High Power Takedown, you kind of have to pull the slide back and push a pin through. Well, this, you no longer have to do that. Just drop the magazine, turn this little lever here, and then ease the slide forward, and then you're basically in a fill strip condition now. And it goes back together just as easy as it went, came apart. Put it back on, lock it back, turn this little lever here, and you're ready to start hammering.
So here's a good question, because I'm sure viewers at home are going to ask, will there be a railed version eventually?
That is a great question, and one we've been getting a ton. I will say this, we're always working on new things, and we're always constantly innovating. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to take and focus on kind of the reintroduction of the High Power today, but we'll always be working on things for the future.
Okay, and I'm sure that the same answer would probably be said for, will you guys ever look at putting optics on top of it?
Same answer, the exact same answer. We're always innovating, so we wanted just to make sure that we're, easing into the market. This is for people that are purists for the High Power and, obviously, go back a long, long time. We wanted to make sure that we kind of ease into it, make sure that, we've done a really good job of trying to pay respect to the old design, but, we'll be looking at all sorts of variants in the future. With this platform, we have pretty infinite possibilities in what we can do here.
Oh, yeah. So, 2 more questions.
Shoot.
Is there backwards compatibility with anything from the other High Powers? I know that High Powers kind of came back into favor a little bit recently. Some shops are making straight triggers and so on and so forth. With things like triggers, I'm sure that the other controls would not be, because we have ambidextrous features now, but would triggers be something that would be reverse compatible?
There is not much backwards compatibility with the old High Power, unfortunately. We had to go through and kind of completely redesign, just contouring the frame, building out like a frame that will hold a 17-round magazine. We had to do a whole lot of architectural changes to the gun, so unfortunately there's no backwards compatibility with the old High Power. But what you have to make sacrifices in product development. So we felt like some of those sacrifices were worth making. We did also want to take into consideration some of the compatibility. Like if you're familiar with the old High Power, the sights were pretty challenging to get and everything. So we wanted to actually kind of make it easier. The dovetail cuts that are on the slide are the same dovetail dimensions as the 509. So while we can't have backwards compatible mags and triggers and components and things like that, we wanted to try and help the consumer out a little bit.
Last two questions. Price and availability.
Sure. So we'll start with price first. So the black and the flat dark earth versions, MSRP is $12.69. We also have a stainless steel version that is $13.69. As far as availability goes, we're introducing it here at SHOT Show today, or this week, but you'll start seeing inventories roll out to retail end of February, beginning of March.
Awesome. That's actually right around the corner. So that is great news to hear, because most of the time people show them and then maybe a year later, if you're lucky, you get to see it. So that is actually really nice to hear that these are actually on their way to being available to the actual general public. So that's about everything I got for you on the FN High Power. And for you guys viewing back home, definitely take a look at these. These will be available shortly. And let's go ahead and give Chris a thank you for giving us an amazing interview.
Thanks. Appreciate it.